Now, what about the idea of people who've had cash stolen from their homes by family members, no less, and that the possibility that they might be turning to lie detector tests? Well, to hear more about this particular phenomenon, I'm joined by Sian Devine. Good morning, Sian.
Good morning, Clive.
Thank you. I know we're coming to you quite late. You run the Dublin-based Lie Detector Limited.
Correct.
Well, pardon my ignorance. I didn't even know we had lie detector tests in Ireland, Sian.
We've been operating since 2011 in Ireland, so we've been around a while now. And
in what context do you operate?
Well, I mean, we do tests for private individuals, we do them for businesses, solicitors, and there's lots of reasons why people may take a test, but certainly what we were sort of discussing more recently was that there has been an increase in the number of people contacting us about thefts that have occurred in the family home. And that's a crime, I suppose, that really people don't want to go to the guards over. There's been no sign of a break-in. They know it's a family member. And I suppose they just want to quietly deal with the situation, get the answer that they need, find out who's responsible, and move forward.
If money, Sian, goes missing in my family, I call you and say, I want to give all my family members a lie detector test. How might the family members feel about that?
Well, usually there might be just one person that's under suspicion. There might be 2 or 3 people. I suppose it depends on how quickly the theft is discovered, who had access, who was around at the time, that the cash went missing. So usually not everybody's been tested, but there might be 2 or 3 people. There might be just one person who's been accused. Now, people are generally willing to take a test because they want to prove that they didn't do this. So I suppose we often think of, polygraph tests, establishing who is responsible, but it's also equally important that the innocent people are able to clear their names. So, if there's 2 or 3 people that could be responsible, one of them did it, the other 2 are going to want to clear their names, because issues like this can affect families, and they can run on for years, and the fallout could be sort of quite bad, really. Everybody, suspecting each other. It can lead to rows, it can lead to tension. So quite often somebody who is falsely under suspicion does want to clear their name, so they're quite keen to take a test.
So how does a lie detector test work?
So, I mean, basically, the polygraph test itself, all the polygraph is doing is collecting physiological data from the person taking the test.
So are you wired up to a machine?
Yes, there are a number of components. So they will be attached around the upper and lower chest area. There'll be a blood pressure cuff. There's various clips that go on fingers to measure blood rate volume, skin conductance or sweat gland activity. So there's a number of components attached to the person.
So what kind of questions do you ask? Do you come up front and say, are you a thief?
No. The questions have to be about a specific issue. So if money went missing, from their parents' house, from the wardrobe or wherever it was kept, that's basically what they would be asked if you take the missing money. And so we don't use words like thief or steal because some of those terms are sort of legal terms, but also they could be accusatory, and we don't want that. So we want to establish, did you take the missing money? So they would be asked questions about the theft. On a polygraph test, there are other questions as well that make up the test that everybody gets asked. So questions that they will be telling the truth to, questions that they will be asked to lie to, and it's and all of those questions make up the test.
So would you ask a person, for example, simple questions about what is your name and what job do you do, in order to get a reaction first of one type that they're telling the truth, and then you get into deeper questions? And how is that the way that would work?
Yeah, I mean, there would be the questions are not specific to the person, so and the questions would be asked with a yes or a no. So we might say to them, "Are you in Ireland?" That type of thing.
Right.
We say yes to that, and we know they're telling the truth. There'd be questions then that they're directed to lie to, so questions that we know for sure. So we might say to them, "In your whole life, have you ever told a lie?" Now, the reality is we've all told lies at some point, even if it's just to make life a little bit easier. So obviously, we've all told lies. So if somebody said no to that question, they would be deliberately lying. So we'd ask them questions that, we'd ask we would want them to lie to. And, it's all of those questions that make up the test. So we've got a combination there of questions they're being truthful to, questions that they're deliberately lying to, and then the relevant questions, the questions that relate to why the test is being conducted.
And as one who watches lots of these police movies and stuff like that, and police series, how reliable and how much can you rely on the outcome of these lie detector tests?
Well, a single issue polygraph test would be in the sort of mid to high 90s in terms of accuracy, so it would be up to 98%. So that a single issue is a test about one specific issue. So, for example, the money that was stolen from the parents' wardrobe last week. So a single issue test is the most accurate type of test, but there are a number of factors that would affect the accuracy. So it would always be important that the person, the examiner conducting that test, is properly qualified and that their training is completely up to date.
Right.
It's also important that they're using the latest computerised equipment and that they're using a validated technique, so a technique that is scientifically backed. A single issue test, like I say, would be up to 98% accurate. So there are a number of factors there that, have to be in place for that test to be, as accurate as it possibly could be. It's also important to get good questions, because when you take a polygraph test, it's not establishing if you're lying, it's establishing are you being truthful. So if you were asked a question and you were unsure, or you couldn't remember, or you had doubts, or even if you were covering for somebody else, so if somebody was taking a test because they wanted to prove that they didn't take the money, but let's say, for example, they know who did, and they were covering for that person, or maybe they gave information to a third party that allowed them to come in and take the money. That person isn't going to pass their test because, they're being deceptive about the issue. If they can't remember. Now, in a theft, they're going to remember whether they took the money or not. But in some situations, it could be a relationship issue. They might be drunk. They might not remember whether or not they had sexual contact. So in that type of test, that could be a problem, because if you can't remember, you're not being truthful when you answer the question. You might not be lying, but you're not being truthful, and that would cause you to fail the test. So getting good questions is a really important part of the process.
All right. Okay, Sian, despite your lovely Kerry accent, I know your company is Dublin-based, and the name of the company is Lie Detector Limited.
That's correct.
And I presume you're online or whatever else people can...
Oh, we are. We have a website, Detector.ie, and that's got our email address and contact number if anybody did want to ring us. It's free to ring us. We don't charge for our time, so if anybody does have an issue that they want to talk through, that's not a problem. There's no obligation to book.
Well, thank you, Sian Devine, for alerting us to lie detectors and their uses in Ireland, particularly even where family members are stealing cash from other family members. Lie Detector Limited, the name of the company. Sian Devine, thank you for alerting us to that. And good morning to you.